all about you, Polly. But like, if you're into them kind of things, and I'm not into them kind of things, well, this is gonna be a very, very, very short union. How can your patience be here when it's you who decided that, like, I don't know whether you're the one for me or not? I promise you, yeah, unless you turn around and tell me that you're Phil Mitchell, right? Like the crackhead of the day, I promise you, we can work it out. You're in your kitchen, like you're doing something cute for you. To be so revolted is a bit like, all right, mate. It's kind of nice to really have that kind of laid back kind of vibe from you a little bit. He could have done that. He didn't. My nan used to say, yeah, a liar will forget what them lie about. When you start with that kind of energy, right? That, like, I mean, you've got the pen, like, and you can't, you almost can't wait to tell people that you're fake. Like, I might have been praising you over the last couple of episodes, but let's not forget, it was only just last week, yeah, that he was dashing your wedding ring up the wall. We were rooting for you, but actually, it ain't gonna work because you don't feel it, mate. Mama Fajita is back. Wagwan people thems. So it's definitely a different time of the day. So usually my reactions are like in the dead of night as soon as the episode's finished. But I was so tired last night. I was like, do you know what? I'm gonna rewatch it again in the morning. So I've just rewatched episode 27, and sorry. I thought it's like winter now. Do you know what I mean? Like, so all the bees and the wasps and whatever else shouldn't be flying about the place. Anyway, this episode, I feel like my interest, yeah, is waning, if I'm honest, because I'm like, I just kind of want them to get to the last week now and almost be done with it, because I feel like there are certain people that I'm just kind of done with watching, and I think, like, because I've already committed to reacting to the show is the reason why I'm continuing to react to it. But in honesty, there are a couple of things I'm just over this. So from the back of yesterday, with them having the wife swap, sorry, not yesterday, the day before, they're all kind of talking about it the next morning. So Polly and Adam obviously had a bit of an argument the night before. So, they're kind of like talking about kind of what went down and stuff. And it escalates into this massive like unloading from Adam. He's just like, at the end of the day, it's all about you, Polly. I think he actually used the term, you would the world, yeah, if it meant that it was about you and your feeling. Because she's like, I don't understand as to why you've then gone and bought all this like lingerie and stuff when we've never had any conversations about any of that. We've never spoke about that. You've not shown me anything. And he's like, yeah, but I was doing that in order to be kind of low key, make it fun. I've been honest with you about the intimacy conversation. And what's weird to me, yeah, like, I am surprised that Adam isn't about the intimacy, like, or talking about intimacy. Because when he first kind of came on our TV sets and stuff, yeah, he was very much about, the kind of women he goes for. And, it was very much ladies' man type of situation. I don't think there's anything. Look, we've all got our own kind of principles, and I can be quite prudish at times about certain things, but talking about intimacy with your partner, to me, it's almost, I don't know, I'd find it a very immature thing that you can't talk about intimacy with your partner. Like, are we not grown people here doing grown people things? I understand that maybe you don't want to talk about it in front of other people. Do you know what I mean? But like, talking about it with your partner, what you like, what you don't. I mean, that's one of the first things that you talk about, surely. Because if you're into like all this kind of foot play, and look, that's just my opinion. Do you know what I mean? If that's you, you do you, boo. I mean, you do you, boo. But like, if you're into them kind of things, and I'm not into them kind of things, well, this is gonna be a very, very, very short union. Do you know what I mean? So you and your bunions can go over there. So I don't really understand why it's such a hard thing to talk about, but whatever. So in one sense, I think the point that she's trying to make is, you've gone from not wanting to touch me, yeah, telling everybody about swapping me out for a camel, then being like, actually, we're banging headboards and stuff. But that's kind of died down now. I'm still not getting the kind of hand holding, neck caressing, and then you start going, and someone you want to come chew off my pants. Like, I'm getting a bit of a mixed message here. So I do kind of understand where she's coming from a little bit. But I do also appreciate from his perspective, he's like, fam, I don't know what you want, because like, I've told you, yeah, that like the lack of attraction is there. I'm trying to build it. I'm trying to make it fun, and you're pressuring me. Like, he looked vexed. He looked really, really vexed. And then just at the height of their beef, like they get an envelope through the door to be like, time for a task, time for a task. But before they had their conversation, you've got Kieran's come over to Christina because he's like, oh, do you know what, like, I'm very, very aware we left things on a bad note yesterday. I don't want to have them kind of issues with you, so I thought best to come over and talk. They sit like the furthest sides of the sofa. Like you couldn't get any further unless he was outside the apartment. And it's kind of just the same thing. She's like, you know, my patience is here. And he's like, so is mine. But I'm like, how can your patience be here when it's you who decided that, like, I don't know whether you're the one for me or not? I keep gassing you up and telling you that you're amazing and you're sick and you're unique and there's no more Stinas. Like, but at the same vein, like, I don't know whether it's you that I want because your focus and your goals may not align with mine. Again, we haven't really seen too much of what those goals are because I went back to watch the episode again because of the Luke situation, which I'll talk about in a minute. When he was talking to Sasha, he said there were two things. The thing about her putting her priority in wanting to find a husband. I mean, go figure. You on a show called Married at First Sight, and you decide that you want to put a man as a priority, a husband as your priority. Like, oh my God, get the witch. Do you know what I mean? Like, what? So you got that. But he also said her focus isn't the same as his, where he's got everything aligned and ready. It's almost like she hasn't. So I'm really intrigued to find that because I can't remember. I know she's got some kind of like, is it a Reiki business for sheep or something? Is that what she does? She's got a business anyway. So I'd be quite intrigued to find out what is it about her focus that has thrown you off? Because to me, those are real. Like I promise you, yeah. Unless you turn around and tell me that you're Phil Mitchell, right? Like the crackhead of the day who starts his day with a tin of tenants, yeah. I promise you, we can work it out. If I like you and I'm attracted to you, which he says, you're a vibe, you're unique, you're here for me. Like I don't quite understand what it is that he's digging out. I don't get it at all. Oh, and then Sasha and Ross, and you know they're all good. They're still reeling from the fact that they put together this absolutely awful golfing experience that nobody seemed to enjoy. Oh, sorry, I've completely forgotten. How did I forget that? Right, sorry. So Luke and Amy, yeah, have woken up. Amy's got up and she's like, oh, morning. She walks in to Luke basically in the buff, right? Man is literally butt naked, like absolutely naked, apart from this pinny. So his butt's all out. Rah! So this is a treat for Amy and for us, I see. Like, okay. Hello, sir. Cooking up whatever he's cooking up in the buff and making her a coffee. And she's just like, why is he naked? Right? And I think, like, can understand why her hesitance or her kind of like icky factor from things like that is at such a discord with how he is as a person. Like he's obviously a very sexual person and he's very comfortable like in his sexuality and wants to express that with his partner. And I can see that like whilst you're in front of people, that can be a bit weird. But I mean, you're in your kitchen, like you're doing something cute for you to be so revolted. He's a bit like, all right, mate. But anyway, so he's trying to do something cute for her based on the things that she said to him the night before. And I think it's also very interesting, right, that she's come back and she said, look, I've got this from Adam, I've had that from Adam, and that's the basic level that he's doing for her. Wouldn't that be nice if you could do that for me because you want to? So he's taken that initiative, bearing in mind that that hurt him. It hurt him to hear that, but he's taken the initiative and he's turned that into his own way as to how he wants to, how he thinks would be a good, you know, cutesy, funny way to kind of, you know, bring some of that about. And you're immediately like, that this is just not it. Which I think would also dampen my spirits. Bearing in mind, yeah, I went back to watch the episode, like I said, because I really wanted to understand what it was that Luke had said, which I'll get to in a minute. But when he was talking about being envious of Lacey, which became a big, massive deal, he was talking about the fact that the way that she is, like, and how she would be with her husband, how he would like a little bit of that with his wife, and it's not quite there yet. That's what he said. It's not quite there yet, but he would like a bit of that. He wasn't envious about the fact that some wife is out here dancing with some next man with a frontal up. And again, look, it is a dance, right? But and he even said, like, I felt bad afterwards. We'll get to that in a bit. What he could have done when Amy was kind of relaying to him about all the things that like she got from Adam, I think he could relate to her. It was really nice to be kind of, she was so laid back in our activity and stuff, and actually, it'd be kind of nice to really have that kind of laid back kind of vibe from you a little bit. He could have done that. He didn't. Instead, he's made this breakfast in the buff. She's then again not happy because she's like, I don't know why he's naked. It's not really, this isn't treating me like a princess. But then it became about the penny because he's like, oh, she's like, oh, did you buy this with Lacey then in order to do this for me today? And he's like, oh, no, I just bought it from home. Back in the day, I've done this kind of thing before, and like my nan used to say, yeah, a liar will forget what them lie about, and I'm like, I remember you telling her from the get go, really, that like you didn't really do any of this. So I can understand why she's like, huh? She's like, you said to me that you never did that. You were just in your pants, shirtless, but never with your butt out. And he's like, oh, I don't remember lying to you about it. She's like, no, you definitely did. I asked you multiple times, and that's how you know that she's probably right. Do you know what I mean, really? And even at the wedding, when the friend told her about it, it was kind of like a no-no for her. So I was like, Luke, man, it's the chipping away at the dishonesty. Do you know what I mean? It's like, why would you not? I mean, just own it. You're a big man. Do you know what I mean? Like, if she doesn't like it, do you know what I mean? Like, then fair enough, she doesn't like it. But you've been true to yourself about who you are. I've already said like now in my big old age, you're gonna get everything about me from the get go. And if there's anything on that list that you don't like, let's just call it a day from today then. Because why am I gonna hide anything? Do you know what I mean? Like, this is who I am. If you don't like it, that's not a problem. But I'm not gonna like give you a little bit and then like not even remember the bit that I've told you, and then come out in this buttless pinny and expect her not to go, well, wait a minute. So yeah, that wasn't great. To get the task through to write these letters. So obviously Adam and Polly get theirs first. I think it goes to Sasha and Ross because I can't remember the order. I actually can't remember who gets who. I actually can't remember who gets who. All I do remember is that Sasha was very, very, very quick. You can tell from the minute that Sasha gets the pen, she's got the pen, she's got the paper, right? Luke, fake, likes to get involved in other people's business, attention seeking. From the off, this is a letter to basically tell him about himself. And she's like, oh, you know what? I don't, because I think Ross is like, oh, what do you reckon I make of it? And she's like, I don't think he's going to like being called fake, but it is what it is. When you start with that kind of energy, right? That like, I mean, you've got the pen, like, and you almost can't wait to tell people that you're fake. Like, I'm just like, do you know what? Yeah. And I don't know whether it's because from what I've seen of Luke, he seems like a nice person. Do you know what I mean? I don't live with him. I don't know him personally. But in terms of like his edit on this show, like he comes across as a nice person. And look, right, I'm not saying that someone that like isn't always as honest as they need to be. So people that can be a bit duplicitous. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna say one thing to one person, one thing to another, because I've got this like innate need to be liked. I'm not saying that is a great trait to have, because it's not. Do you know what I mean? You want to know where you stand with someone. But for you to almost relish in the fact that you're going to tear this person down in this anonymous letter, which is meant to be something that I think is a constructive thing. I'm just like, I don't, like I said in my last reaction, I'm like, I think I'm gonna have Sasha, but like I've absolutely turned off her now. Like, I just think like, what? And it just gets worse as the episode goes on. Before they get there in the taxi, Adam's like, because they've had this massive argument. Polly's like, I think we should walk in, hand in hand and stuff. And Adam's like, yeah, but we've just had a massive argument. Like, maybe we shouldn't do that. We did that at the retreat and it didn't go well. And she's like, yeah, but it's gonna look weird if we don't do it. It just made me think then, yeah, like, I wonder how many times, and not even wonder, because I've been in that situation, right? Where you've got like a family function, a friend function, and you've had some. I never forget this one time, right? I was going to my other half's New Year's Eve party, and we're on the way to this party, and we had this absolute stinking argument on this train. And I remember being just like, I actually don't even want to go. I actually don't even want to go. Get me off this train. And we had to get there and like just put on, because it was the first time I was meeting some of them as well, put on these airs and graces. And it does feel really like awful that you just like, like, I'm so pent up from this argument that I've had with you that I'm so angry, like, but I'm having to like pretend that everything is lovely. I mean we didn't last long after that, to be fair. I think that was the final nail in the coffin, to be honest. But still, like that mode of, I can understand what Adam's like. I don't really want to pretend, but at the same time, you don't want to be in a social circumstance where everyone's like, oh, "Are you okay?" The head tilt. Are you all right? So I can understand where they're coming from. They get in, and the experts clock it straight away because actually they're not holding hands like that, and it's the first time they've come in not touching, as Mel said. Adam's like, oh, I hope that Amy's been able to go and tell Luke about how well she was treated. Because that was the other thing when they were talking. He was like, I treat you well, Polly. Like, I treat you really well. I treat you like a princess, basically. I make you breakfast, I make you teas, I run your bath for you, and stuff. And it's like, none of it's good enough. Yep, Adam's telling Polly about all the things that he's done for Amy, and hopefully that Luke will learn from that. They've then come in, looking sick, by the way. They look amazing, joking, being like, "Oh, this is the man that's treating my wife like a princess, yeah." And Adam's like, "Well, you can learn a thing from me." And Polly's like, "Yeah, calm down. Remember, you two still beefing? I mean, just okay." Amy asks Polly like, how are things and stuff, and she's like, "Yeah, not good, not good. It's just not good." And obviously she's like, "Oh dear." So that gets a little bit like frosty. Sasha and Ross that come in, and they don't really get the biggest hello, but I think that's just because there's not many of them left. Again, they're cool, they're vibing. Experts are like, good to see that they're okay. Sasha and Ross are telling them about the awful golfing experience that they had and how Christina and Kieran weren't in a good space. Christina and Kieran then come in, and to me, I was like, "Yo, Christina, this is the best I've ever seen you look. You look Hollywood. Like, she looks amazing, 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 amazing." And they're holding hands, and they're all like, I didn't expect them to be holding hands really after what happened yesterday, but okay, cool. Then Lacey and Nathan appear. And again, they look $1,000,000 as well. So it's interesting to see how people come in, because looking at what Kieran was in and looking at what Nathan was in, it's like, rah, that's such a difference. But even like in what Christina was in, like Christina was looking like, wow. And Kieran looks like he was popping up to town to go, grab a Greg's in it. Do you know what I mean? It's just very, very different. Like, very, very different. But whatever. Like, they've got bigger things to worry about than whatever they're wearing. Anyway, when Kieran came in, Ross was talking to him, or Luke was talking to him about how he's feeling and stuff. And he's like, my mind scrambled. Again, the theme of this should be, my head scrambled. That should be the theme, because I feel like that's all I've heard. It's my head scrambled. Christina is talking to the girls, and she's like, I've asked him, do you think I'm worthy of you? And he's like, yeah. But it's like, you can say that, yeah, but your actions will do other. Like, you can say everything, do you know what I mean? But it's not matched by your actions, is it? Because if you're saying I'm worthy of you, then what is it that's missing? I don't understand that. Lacey comes in. She's talking about, how she was treated when she was with Luke, and she's like, he treated me so well. Because all this time, Amy's like, all the things that Adam was doing for me, I don't get that from Luke. So when Lacey comes in, like, Amy's really interested to know, so what was he like with you? What did he do? And she's like, he made me breakfast. Like, when he popped out to go to the gym, he left me a note saying, "Hey, classy lady, I'll be back at 10:30 to make you some breakfast, pretty lady. See you later, classy lady." Right? So he left us some absolute, just little, almost movie level note and stuff. Amy's already like, okay, I don't get that, but all right. But to be fair to him, yeah, like when he did the butler in the buff thing, like he did say, "Oh, she likes me. She likes my body. She likes me naked." Do you know what I mean? Like, she likes that. So I did find it a little bit weird that she was so repulsed by it in the morning, but yet she's told him that she likes him naked. So it's like, we're married, man. Like, we're grown folks. Do you know what I mean? Like, let's be a little bit cheeky and naughty. Like, that's okay. Like, anyway. So Lacey's told her about the note. Then she goes, "Oh, and also the photo, yeah." So he said to me that the reason that he said what he said, yeah, it was because he was envious. Amy's face is a picture. She's just like, I beg your pardon. She's like, yeah, he was envious and that he would like that in his partner. Like, and she's just like, so he's saying so he was praising me for being classy and having integrity and going in on you and saying that you didn't have any of those things. And now he's saying that he wants me to be more like you. That's effing BS. Yeah, she's fuming. She's fuming. And then there was this whole thing where, like, it kind of panned out, and he's The editing is just crazy in this show. She looks back and he's like, "Hey, baby," and she's like, "Yeah." And you just feel for him, man. You're just like, I know what onslaught about to come. So then it moves into the actual dinner. I think Amy asks Polly, how did it go with all, like, a little bit of naughties and stuff, and she's like, not good. It didn't go well at all. Like, it really didn't go well. And then she starts explaining about why her head was frazzled and how it kind of made her feel really crap actually, and stuff. And Amy was like, oh my god. And Adam's like, at the end of the day, like, I felt that I went out of my comfort zone to do something that I thought would be fun for us, for what you've been asking me for. And you're saying that, like, you've not heard these things from me. It's just that I haven't said it on the sofa. But I've told you, that I don't like talking about intimacy, the whole lack of attraction thing. And then it all just came out, like, and, I was really frustrated and very unhappy. You brought it on yourself. I just didn't like that line. Like, I'm not Polly's biggest supporter, as I've made very clear. But I feel to be like, you brought it on yourself. What kind of statement's that? Like, I am frustrated, and I'm frustrated with your lack of awareness as to how I'm trying, and you're not being very grateful for the things I am trying. But to be like, you brought it on yourself, you should just be like, it's like, fam, do you remember that, like, a lot of her insecurities have been borne out by the fact that you've been like, I was waiting for my brunette baddie. Do you know what I mean? I might have been praising you over the last couple of episodes, but let's not forget where that came from. I want my brunette baddie, and I'm not about to settle. Do you want to come and swap for her? Because if you can make her more happy than I, you take her now. Do you know what I mean? So for you to making comments like, you brought it on yourself, I didn't like that. Amy's trying to get him into a good mood and stuff. But the experts, they do understand as to why he's feeling the way that he's feeling, and I do as well. Do you know what I mean? But I just thought that was just an unnecessary comment. Then Polly starts asking Amy about how that she got on with Luke, and now she's back with Luke and stuff. She's like, yeah, we had a good morning and stuff. I did tell him about the way that Adam was treating me and how he treated him like a princess and stuff. And Lacey's like, I've got to say, like, I'm a bit concerned because you treated me amazingly, Luke. Like, you really did treat me well. And some of the things that Amy's saying that you don't do for her. So Amy's like, you treated Lacey like a princess. Adam's treated me like a princess. You don't do those things for me. And she's like, so it's like, why can you do those things for another woman, but you can't do it for me? And Luke's like, yeah, I did treat them differently because they're different people, but I don't know whether he fully got that. He's put his best foot forward, and hasn't necessarily done that with his wife. And I think that's hurtful. So I do understand why she's a little bit like, I'm not really getting that from you. Then the conversation starts to snowball, and it turns from just, you doing those things to, and also you turn around and said to her that you're envious of her, and that actually you'd like me to be more like that. You stood up there and with full chest, telling her about actually how unclassy she was and how she had no integrity. But like, now you're telling her that you want me to be more like that, but you never told me that. He's like, oh no, like, that's not really what I meant. Like, I meant envious of, like, the photo, what the photo represented is, like, the vibrancy. He's like, I didn't understand before. I was like, I've just reacted. Basically, like, she's pants on him. Polly's like pants on him as well, and Lacey's also like asking these questions. So he's kind of caught between these three. It's like, can I just explain myself? It's like, what I'm trying to say is like, I'm envious. It's like, my opinion does still stand, because Amy's like, you said that you weren't even going to change your opinion. I'm not apologizing for having an opinion, and now you want me to be more like her. He's like, yeah, what I'm trying to say is, like, I only had time to react to the photograph, and the photograph was what I was reacting to, and my opinion still stands on that. It's like, but what I was saying was, I was more envious about the fact that, like, there's that kind of carefree, that fiery, the music and stuff. And then I think Sasha pipes up, and she's like, I can't remember how it did go. Sorry, I just had to go and remind myself as to what it was that Sasha. Cause I knew that Sasha said something, but I was like, well, I can't remember what she said. So Polly, again, no one asked you, Polly, but she's inserted herself yet again to be like, can we stop? Can we just squash the photo? Yeah, because it's nothing to do with the photo. It's the fact that you've said that you are envious of Lacey and that you wish that that Amy was more like her. And Sasha's like, oh, is it because it's the BS basically? It's the BS. And I'm just like, again, Sasha, like, I don't understand as to why you're coming on smoke. Like, and I can understand now a little bit like a lot more, in fact, actually. Where Alex may have been coming from, because he's such a hothead, like, and he's like got so much to say and so much like energy that he gives off. I think you kind of give her a little bit of a blight, but I don't think Luke has, especially to her at least anyway, like has done anything to her that would warrant her coming for him so hard. I'm just like, what is your problem? Like, but anyway, um, and again, Luke's trying to explain that, like, it's not about like the picture. Like, I wouldn't want my wife necessarily doing that, but I do, and I feel a bit guilty now that I've understood what it was. It's like, so initially, if I saw that in my wife, I would still have the opinion that I wouldn't necessarily love that. But like what I meant was in terms of being envious, because Amy's like, oh, so what you're saying is you'd like me to go and do that with Adam? And it's like, no, it's like, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that I would like that a bit more in our relationship. She's like, I do dance. Like, I do dance. I dance around the house, like, just because I can't dance. And then Christina's like, spin around then, mate. Like, she's in the kitchen, spin around. And it's like, at what point, yeah, bearing in mind that, because I really feel for Luke in this moment. Because at the time when I saw it, I was like, oh, Lacey, like exactly she did, is coming back with that bad boy piece of information. She is. And you're gonna get painted out to be like not deceitful but dishonest. Because what he should have done is said that this is one of the things, this is the conversation I had with Lacey, and this is what I, would like to see from you. But he's probably at the point where he's walking on eggshells a little bit. He said before that he likes the fact that she's a lady in the street but a freak in the sheets. Yeah, great. Like, and I think she appreciated that. But I think what he's trying to say is that even when we're on our own, it would be nice. He was talking about putting his arm around her, and she stiffens up like a scaffold, like a piece of scaffolding or something. He called her, which again, I would not want to hear that third party. But these are things that like he should have been saying to her before the dinner party. So her having to hear that she's stiff like a board, and that she's kind of dry, or that which is probably how she's interpreting it. Do you know what I mean? It's gonna make her feel a certain way. But for Sasha to jump on that to be like the BS, I'm just like, can you just wind your neck in? Like, Jesus, like what? Amy's just like, look, I want to stop talking about it because I'm just vexed. I'm vexed and I'm upset. She moves seats and stuff. Even the experts are like, oh, she's been kind of blindsided, and that's probably why she feels embarrassed and stuff, which, I guess she would do. I think I would do as well if I got made to feel that I'm boring in comparison to my friend. I would feel a little bit hurt by that as well. But anyway, then they start to read out the letters, I think, and I think the first person to get their letter read is Adam and Polly. And again, I think it was Lacey and Nathan that wrote theirs. And they're basically, they're very complimentary to them both, but they do bring up the fact that it does feel like, Polly's need for that physical affirmation and confirmation from Adam, it just centers around that a lot, and that Adam doesn't necessarily voice a lot of his emotions, and that hopefully if Polly can just take a little bit of a chill, basically, then they can continue to progress together, because they do have a love for each other. Results in Polly crying, and I think the experts are like, oh, she's probably just had a realization, basically, about what her actions have really meant for the two of them. Because Polly's just like, I just feel really, really like awful that that I've been quite selfish and stuff, and not really given Adam the space or the time, and it has just been about me, and I'm just really, really sorry for that. And and Adam's really good at saying, look, we've spoken about it, we've addressed it, you've acknowledged it. He's like, so that's all that needs to happen. Do you know what I mean? So it's all cool. I don't know. Like, she's sorry for that situation, and I think that's great. But I think it would have been nice if he'd also said, look, I can appreciate that you are coming from a basket of insecurities that you probably had before me. I probably added to that throughout this process in terms of like the me being honest about the lack of attraction, those kind of things. So, I can understand to a degree. Like, it would have just been nice for him to kind of meet her there a little bit, but he didn't. With Nathan and Lacey's next, actually, they got a really good letter. Basically, you look good. You are good. I hope you're gonna be. Basically, we're gonna do a Cilla Black and get a hat. That's basically the long and short of it. And I just felt really happy for them. Do you know what I mean? Like, they did mention about continue to have deep chats. Nathan continued to open up. But you know, behind closed doors and stuff, maybe they do. Do you know what I mean? But anyway, they're good. Then Luke and Amy read theirs. Amy's reading it. And she's based. It starts off with, "Dear Luke and Amy, I hope this letter finds you well. Let's start with addressing the main problem in your relationship." And I mean, that to me already, I'd be like, which heifer wrote this? Do you know what I mean? Like, let's start off addressing the main problem in your relationship. It was only just last week, yeah, that he was dashing your wedding ring up the wall. So how about we have a little bit of like humility? So already from the off, I'm like, this ain't a good letter. This ain't a good letter. And she's basically like, you know, Luke is basically more concerned in other people's business than his own marriage. That he seeks attention. And at this point, Luke's like, I beg what? So he's looking over to be like, what is this? You know, it's basically continuing to drag Luke, basically. You know, that if he pays more attention to Amy and starts focusing on everybody else and the cameras and whatever else, then actually he, you know, they could stand a chance. Amy, you're doing as much as you can do, basically. There's nothing further for you to do. This is all Luke. It's all Luke. Luke. She hasn't even folded the paper good to say, right, okay. Before Sasha's like, we wrote that letter. We wrote that letter. You know, it's best to be honest. We wrote that letter. And basically, I wanted you to understand that, like, I think that you're fake. I think that you playing up to the cameras and stuff. And you want to do everything for the cameras. And actually, if you weren't so bothered in other people's relationships here, you'd be more focused on your own. And he's like, well, you know, that's your opinion. Yeah, it is my opinion. Yeah, it is my opinion, actually. And he's like, you know, well, thank you for your opinion. And she's like, you're welcome. And it was the smug smiling, right? It was the smiling with the wine glass that made me go, do you know what? Yeah, you like, what a way to just erode any kind of like likability that you had. Do you know what I mean? For me, I don't know about anybody else, but for me, I'm just like, that's unnecessary. And what I love the experts were saying was, I wonder if this Vim, because Luke didn't rise to it at all. He was just like, you know what, that is your opinion. Do you know what I mean? I don't know what you mean about the cameras and whatever else, but that is your opinion. And then she was like, before the experts chimed in, she was like, are you sure that you're not holding back because everyone's here to kind of check you on your rubbish? Is that the reason why? And it's like, no. It's like, oh, okay, good to know. And it's just what is that? Like, and then Mel was like, I wonder if this stems from the fact, yeah, which is exactly what I said. Me and Mel were like, she's like, you know, I wonder if that stems from the fact that, like, basically Luke had Alex's back and she felt that he didn't support her, and that she's holding a grudge, basically. Because Luke's like, you know, did you write this? Or was it a joint effort? And they're both like, it was a joint effort. But she wrote that. Ross has probably just gone, yeah, okay, safe. Cool. I'm really not that bothered. Do you know what I mean? She's wrote that to be vindictive. And I'm just like, wow. And Luke even says, this is a personal attack. There is nothing constructive in here whatsoever. This is literally a personal attack. So any kind of credibility that she had, it's just gone up in flames. And now I'm wondering whether... I'm kind of feeling sorry for us, if I'm honest. I'm kind of feeling sorry for us. So yeah, not a fan of any of that, like, whatsoever. Then Sasha and Ross read theirs out, I think. And in the main, it is a nice letter. I don't know who wrote it, but there's someone who thinks they're gonna last. Someone else doesn't think they're gonna last. They make comments about the fact that sometimes it can feel like Sasha, as much as she supports and loves Ross, that it can maybe be a little bit suffocating, and that maybe to be mindful of that. But you know, Ross is an amazing father. At which point he starts crying and everyone's getting emotional around the table. You know, that was a moment. But when it comes to kind of talking about the letter, Sasha addresses the suffocation thing by saying, look, you know, sometimes I think I might be doing that, but you know, actually you love that, and you know, you've never had anyone support you more than that. So actually, we're good with that, basically. And so, you know what? And I think we'll just leave that there. I think let's just focus on the positive. And if she hadn't been that way with Luke, and necessarily been that way a little bit just in general, I think I would have been like, okay, fair enough. That's actually quite a sweet moment. But I'm like, actually, no. Like, you're very quick to point your fingers at everybody else. Sit in the negative a little bit and just talk about that. Like, what does that look like and why? Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, didn't like that. And then And then it gets to Kieran and Christina. And to be fair, like, you know, it was, I got emotional. Like, I'm an emotional guy anyway, like, but I did cry. I mean, everybody looked like they were crying around that table. Lacey was crying, Polly was crying, Kieran was crying, Christina was crying, Ross started crying, Sasha was crying, Charlene was crying. Like, it was just, you know, because it was such a letter of, we know how good you can be. We were looking up to you initially for us to get to where you are. You know, you've got so much love between you. Like, you know, we're not sure what's happened, but we're hoping that Kieran can see this amazing person in front of him. You know, so it must have been really hard for Christina to kind of read that. And you know, she's like, and she makes a very public declaration of fighting for him. You know, I'm here, I want you, I'm ready to move for you. Like, you know, I'm here. And I think that's what was the most heartbreaking thing, that someone that has got such a big heart and is fighting for someone who, let's be honest, all intents and purposes, is looking like they just don't want you. Even though you tick all these different boxes, they just don't feel it. They just don't feel it. And, you know, he's crying about it and how much he cares about her. And then they're crying together. And I think after that, was it after that or maybe before the letter thing? It might have been before. It might have been before. Ross had taken Kieran out to talk about, you know, their relationship with Christina, and he's basically trying to shake him to, like, bro, like, she's a ride or die, man. She's here for you. She's fighting for you. And Kieran's like, yeah, man, I know. And listen, I know. Thank you. And, you know, they hug it out and have a little kiss and stuff. And, you know, like Mel said, it's nice to see guys that can just, you know, not have to worry about the fact that, like, oh, guys aren't meant to be doing this, or, you know, that makes me gay because I've just kissed my mate on the lip. Like, it does. Like, the reason I won't kiss you on the lips, Kieran, is because you had a cold sore. But, you know, that was a really nice moment as well. And I love what Ross said. Is like, you know, previously, I was going to them for advice, so it's nice that I feel like me and Sasha are in a good space. I can give them some advice, and yeah, that was really, really cool. Anyway, it cuts to after them. Kieran and Christina had that whole crying thing. Cuts to Kieran then sobbing in the corner, and again, I feel like what I was watching was like the breakup with Jennifer Aniston and Vince Vaughn. Like, it was like that. We all wanted it to work. We all were fighting for you. We were rooting for you, but actually, it ain't gonna work because you don't feel it, mate. You don't feel it. And this is why you feel so bad, because she's such a great person, but she's obviously just not. I don't know what more she could do to be your person, but you're saying that she's not really. You know, because I don't know how many more days do you need. Like, like, what is it like that's gonna change by the next commitment? I don't know. You've had this much time with this person, and you're still into whole grey area of I don't know, I don't know. I'm not even gonna be physical with. Like, we do know. If this turns around, yeah, and they become, you know, Harry and Meghan, I will be absolutely dumbfounded. Absolutely dumbfounded, because I'm just like, I feel like it's done. And that right there was almost like the pouring out of all the emotions. I wish it could be something different, but it's just not. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I'll be intrigued to see what happens at the family stays and stuff. But we get a little clip into the family stays. So Nathan has gone to go and stay with Lacey's family. So Mama Fajita is back. And she's, you know, all kinds of handsy. You know, if he was just 20 years younger, I'm just like, he would still be a vegetarian. So we'll see how that goes. And I think she's got him on, like, you know, duties around the house already. And it's like, oh gosh, this is like the stereotypical, like, oh, going to the mother-in-law, she's got stuff for me to do. I'm so glad that I'm not like that. Like, I'm not a very, like, handyman kind of person, because I'm not the one to call to do your guttering or your painting. You best call your other daughters, man. Right? Do you know what I mean? So interesting to see how that goes. And then Polly is staying with Adam. And I don't know what happened, but, you know, she's cooking dinner, and then all of a sudden, like, in front of Adam's brethren, like, it all kicks off to him saying to her, "You're lucky, yeah, that I even stayed in the marriage after that." And she's picking up her tray. I don't know why the tray is funny. She's picking up her tray, and she's like, "Are you for real?" There's nothing worse than having a slanging match, yeah, in front of other people. I never forget the same relationship, like being at my friend's house, And I hadn't even hung out with my friend for that many times before this, but I was with my partner, and we got into this blazing argument like at the house. And again, I'm quite a private person. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't like that, so I'm trying my best to like, can we just wait till we get home? Can you wait till we get home? And then just keep disrespecting to the point where I lost my temper. And yeah, we were barking at each other, like, and my friend was like, "You don't need to go home, but you got to get the hell up out of here." Like, it's just so embarrassing to do that. So I can only imagine for Polly, that's probably, it's probably walking around with a bit of a blindfold on, really. Like, she probably feels it in her craw, which is probably the reason why anything can, like Amy staying in the apartment can shake her. Because I think deep down she knows that, like, this probably is not going to work. It's probably not going to last. And I really like you. I'd like it to, but I don't think it's gonna. So then to see that unfold in front of someone else, I can imagine that's being like, oh my God, this is just terrible, isn't it? What I'm even doing here? What am I doing to myself? Because I'm sorry, bro. Listening to that kind of statement, you're lucky. But like, the fact that she stayed with you after you publicly embarrassed her on that sofa, bro. Come on, man. Like, you can't. Anyway, I guess we'll see what happens tonight as to how that all unfolds. But a lot of the brownie points that I was previously giving Adam, I felt are eroding by the day. Eroding by the day. Anyway, I'd love to know what you guys thought of this. Thank you so much for watching with me, if you are. I probably will be wearing the same thing later on as well, so don't be confused if you do see it. It's just later on in the day. Yeah, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you on the next one.